Hello students, myself Suresh VS. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to continue the lesson The Making of a Scientist by Robert W. Peterson. So please take page number 35. In the last class, what did we see? Ebright, he took part in a science fair but he could not win. He understood actually what the science was from that competition. So already a competitive spirit or that was developing in him. So he decided to take part in the competition in the next year. So he wrote to Urquhart, okay? So and decided to take the subjects regarding the insects. So take page number 35. Paragraph 3rd. So he wrote to Dr. Urquhart for ideas. He wanted ideas. Okay. So for that purpose he wrote to Urquhart. And as a result of that, what happened? Urquhart had given him a lot of ideas. So many ideas came back. Okay. A stack of, that means a lot of, group of suggestions came from the Urquhart for the experiments. Those kept Ebright busy all through his high school and led to prize projects in county and international science fair. So as a result of that, you can see throughout his high school life, he was very busy in his experiments, and that resulted in winning so many prizes in county level or regional wise as well as international science fairs. For his 8th grade project, Ebright tried to find the cause of a viral disease. Remember, sometimes question can be asked from this. While he was studying in the 8th grade, you see that. What was his project? So he tried to find out the cause of a viral disease that kills nearly all monarch caterpillars every few years. So every few years he noticed that monarch caterpillars were killed due to some viral disease, and he decided to find out the reason. What is the reason for this? Ebright thought the disease might be carried by a beetle. So his idea was that it was caused by this disease, this virus that was spread by beetle. Okay, so he tried to raising caterpillars in the presence of beetles. So in order to find out whether the beetles are spreading this virus, what did he do? He tried to grow up the caterpillars or raise the caterpillars along with the beetles. I didn't get any real results, he said, and after experimenting this, he declared that he could not get any real result. That means he found out that beetles were not the cause for or the reason for this viral disease that killed the monarch caterpillars. So I went ahead and showed that I had tried the experiment. So with this, he went to the science fair, and there he showed he had done the experiment, and he showed that the beetles were not the reason for the ruin of caterpillars or the spread of the virus. Okay, and this time he could win the prize. The next year his science fair project was testing the theory that viceroy butterflies copy monarchs. So the next year he has used another project. What was the project used by him? So the monarch butterflies were copied by, or we can say that duplicated by, other butterflies called viceroy butterflies. So there you can see in the picture also. Above the monarch butterfly is given the picture of a monarch butterfly, down the picture of a viceroy butterfly. Both of them are looking the same. So viceroy butterflies copies or duplicates the monarch butterflies. So why does a viceroy butterfly do it? The theory was that viceroys look like monarchs because monarchs don't taste good to birds. This was the theory. What was the theory? Viceroy butterflies duplicate or look like monarch butterflies because the birds, they don't like to eat the monarch butterflies. Okay, they don't like the taste of monarch butterflies. Viceroys, on the other hand, to taste good to birds. But on the other hand, the birds like to eat, yes, viceroy butterflies. So the more they look like monarchs, the less likely they are to become a bird's dinner. So if the viceroy butterflies, okay, they duplicate, they copy like monarchs, they won't be taken or eaten by the birds. So in order to save their life, they duplicated or copied monarch butterflies. Abraham's project was to see whether in fact birds would eat monarchs. So this was his project. So he wanted to see that whether the birds would eat monarchs or not. He found that a starling would not eat ordinary bird food. And in that he found that a starling, that means a common bird, it's a common bird in Europe, it won't eat, would not eat ordinary bird food. That means starling bird would prefer eating monarch, it won't eat the ordinary bird food. It would eat all the monarchs. That is the case that it used to eat all the monarchs it could get. Ebrard said later research by other people showed that viceroys probably do copy the monarchs. So later the research showed that the viceroys copied the monarchs. Okay, the viceroys copied the monarchs. Why? They have to save themselves from the birds. Okay, for that purpose. So this project was placed first in the zoology division, and there was category zoology. Okay, in the zoology division he got a first prize, and overall science fair he got a third prize. Okay, for this project. In the second year in high school, while he was studying in the high school, in his second year, Richard Ebrard began the research that led to his discovery of an unknown insect hormone. Dear students, it's very important. So while he was studying in the second year in high school, you see that he started a new research, and that research led to the discovery of an unknown insect hormone. So it helped him to, this research helped him to find out or discover an insect hormone. Indirectly, it also led to its new theory in the life of cells. So indirectly, you see that led to the discovery of what, or we can say that a theory. What was the theory? New theory about cell life. Okay, about the life of cell, a new theory was developed based on this. The question he tried to answer was simple. So what was the question he tried to answer here? What is the purpose of the 12 tiny gold spots on a monarch pupa? He noticed that there were tiny gold spots, total 12 gold spots were on the surface of monarch pupa. So what is the purpose of this gold spot? There he started the research. Everyone assumed the spots were just ornamental. So without any idea or without any base, okay, all the people they supposed or believed that this was just for decorative. This was just a decorative, just to decorate the body of the caterpillar. Okay. Ebrard said, but Dr. Urquhart did not believe. But his teacher, or his one who helped him most, Urquhart, he did not believe this theory. These spots, these golden spots were not used as, or it is not at all decorative or ornamental. To find the answer, in order to find the answer, what is the purpose of these gold spots on the surface of caterpillar, monarch caterpillar? And another excellent science student first had to build a device that showed that the spots were producing a hormone necessary for the butterfly's full development. So with the help of another science student, Ebrard, they had developed a device, and this device, with the help of this device, they found out that these golden spots used to produce a hormone, okay, and that helped for the full development of a butterfly. I hope you understood. So these spots are not a decorative, are not ornamental. This had certain purpose, that is to produce a kind of or certain hormone that help for the full development of a butterfly. This project won Ebrard first place in the county fair. You see that? As a result of that, he could win the first prize in the regional science fair competition. and he got the entry into the International Science and Engineering Fair. Very good. He got an entry to International Science Fair as well as Engineering Fair with this research. There he won third prize for zoology. There for the zoology he could win, yes, third prize. And he also got a chance to work during the summer at the entomology laboratory of the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. And as a result of that, he got a great chance. It was a great chance in his life. Okay, what was that? He got the chance to work in a laboratory called Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. Okay, what is this entomology? That means entomology means a scientific study of insects. So a laboratory that is that was there to study about the scientific study of insects, known as Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. So he got a chance to work in this institute. As a high school junior, Richard Albright continued his advanced experiments on the monarch pupa. You see that he was a high school student already, you know that. So he continued his research. He did not stop there. He continued his research, by using advanced technologies and advanced instruments or devices. He did many experiments on the monarch pupa. That year his project won first place at the International Science Fair. So as a result of that, you see that his project could win International Science Fair award on that year and gave him another chance. He got one more chance to work in the army laboratory, yes, during the summertime. Okay. In his senior year, now he became a senior student in high school. So in his senior year, he went a step further. That means he did something in advance. He went a little more further, okay, more advanced work. He grew cells from a monarch's wing in a culture. Culture, you know, and a culture means something growing in an artificial way. So he started to, yes, from the cell of the monarch wing. By using the cell from monarch wing, he started to, yes, he grew cells from where? The monarch's wing. So from the monarch's wing, he started to developing, yes, cells in an artificial way. And this showed that the cells would divide and develop into normal butterfly wing scales only if they were fed the hormone from the gold spots. From this, he came to a conclusion or came to the idea that if the cells get the hormone produced from the gold spots of this caterpillar, then only that could be developed into a wing. It's a very important discovery he had made. So the cells would divide as well as develop to a normal butterfly in case if they were fed the hormone that was secreted from the gold spots. That project won first place for zoology at the International Fair. See, as a result of this, he got another prize in the International Fair. That was the first prize. He spent the summer after graduation zoology at the International Fair. So once he completed his graduation, so he started to work where he spent his summer where the army laboratory and at the laboratory of the US Department of Agriculture. There he continued his work or his research. The following summer, after his freshman means his first year as a first year student at the university. So in the following summer, he already joined in the university. So he was the first year student. Then where he was studying at Harvard University. There Albright went back to the laboratory of the Department of Agriculture, did more work on the hormone from the gold spots. So he went back to this for his research work to the laboratory of the Department of Agriculture, and he did there more studies about the hormone from the gold spots. Okay, he did more work on the hormone from the gold spots using the laboratory's sophisticated instruments. Why did he go there? Because there were so many sophisticated, modern, or we can say that special instruments were there. So by using these modern and sophisticated, or we can say modern and special instruments, he was able to identify the hormones chemical structure. Very important. There he was able to find out or identify the structure of the hormones, identify the yes, hormones chemical structure there. A year and a half later, so 1.5 year got over, and during these studies in his junior year, Ebright got the idea for his new theory about cell life. There he got the idea about a new theory that was developed about cell life. So very important, what was this new idea he had developed about cell life? It came while he was looking at the X-ray photos of the chemical structure of a hormone. Already we have seen that. So he had developed certain ideas regarding the hormone's chemical structure. So while taking the X-ray of this chemical structure of a hormone, so he came to, while studying the photos of this, he came to this idea, or came to this theory, new theory about cell life. When he saw these photos, Ebright did not shout. So when he looked at the photo or watched the photo, as he did not shout like Eureka or even I have got it. He did not shout. But he believed that along with his findings about insect hormones, the photos gave him the answer to one of biology's puzzles. You see that with the findings about insects, so here while looking at the photos of the hormone structure, so he got a new theory. What was that? That was very a answer to a very puzzling or a difficult biological question. How the cell can read the blueprint of its DNA. That was the answer he could find out. How the cell can read the blueprint or the detailed plan. Blueprint means a detailed plan of its DNA. DNA is the substance in the nucleus. All of you know that. DNA, that is the substance in the nucleus of a cell that controls heredity. Always the DNA that controls the heredity of any species. It determines the form and function of the cell. So DNA determines the form as well as the function of a cell. All of you know very well. Thus DNA is the blueprint for life. So the DNA, that is the detailed plan for life. Ebright and his college roommate James R. Wong. Who was his college roommate? James R. Wong. Yes, James R. Wong. Both of them. All that night, what did they do? They had drawn the pictures and constructed a plastic model of the molecules. So they had drawn the pictures as well as the plastic model of the molecules. Why did they do it? In order to produce or show how it could happen, how it was possible. Together they later wrote the paper that explained the theory, and both of them together they had written for the paper explaining the theory of the blueprint for life, that is a DNA. Surpassing no one who knew him, Richard Ebright graduated from Harvard with the highest honors, second in his class of 1510. You see that it did not surprise the people who knew him because he was such a bright student. So he had graduated from Harvard University with the highest honors, second in his class. And you see that he scored second rank in his class. There studied 1510 students. Ebright went on to become a graduate student researcher, and afterwards you see that he went for the graduate. He went to do more research on his theories, and he became a graduate. He wanted to become a graduate, so he had continued his studies as a student researcher at Harvard Medical School. There he began doing experiments to test his theory. There again he continued his research or experiments to test his theory. If the theory proves correct, it will be a big step towards understanding the process of life. If the theory that could prove correct, so it would have become a great steps in understanding the complex the complex system of life. So it would help to understand the complex system of life. It might also lead to new ideas for preventing some types of cancer and other disease. And also, if he could prove it right, it could help to prevent some types of disease like cancer and some other mortal diseases. All of this is possible because of Ebright's scientific curiosity. So you see that all these things were possible. Why? Because of the a scientific curiosity, anxiety, okay, of Ebright. He was a curious student. His high school research into the purpose of the sports on a monarch pupa eventually led to his theory about cell life. You see that actually his high school research, he started his research while he was studying in his high school. So about the purpose of the sports on monarch, okay, monarch pupa, that eventually or ultimately led him to his theory about cell life. You know that what led to the theory of cell life, that was his research that he started in his school life on the about the golden spots that could be seen in the surface of caterpillar. Okay, Richard Ebright has been interested in science since he first began collecting butterflies. Already we have seen that. First, when he started collecting butterflies itself, he was very much interested in science, but not so deeply that he has no time for other interest. But don't think that he did not have an interest on any other subjects. Okay, he had an interest on other regions or other subjects also, or we can say that Ebright also became a champion debater. You see that he became a champion in debate. He was very good in debate, and he was a good public speaker and a good canoeist, that means a good boat racer and all-round outdoors person. He was an all-rounder in outdoor activities, outdoor sports. He is also an expert photographer. Not only that, he was a very good photographer. Dear students, question may come from here. So he was a very good photographer and all-round outdoor persons, as I told you, particularly of nature and scientific exhibits. Particularly, he had taken photos of nature and also the subjects which are related to science. In high school, Richard Ebright was a straight A student. And you see that in high school, his achievements as well as his performance were really great. He was a great student in high school. Because learning was easy. Why? Because for him, learning was not a difficult thing. It was very easy for him. He turned a lot of his energy towards the debating and model United Nations clubs. Why he was able to concentrate in other subjects and other topics? Why? Because for him, learning was not at all a difficult thing. He could find out extra time that he could devote for other things like debating and also many other activities like boat racing and all. So he was the member of Model United Nations clubs too. He also found someone to admire, Richard A. Weichler. And you see that Ebright, he admires, he praises his teacher. His name is Richard A. Weichler. Who was his Weichler? He was his social science teacher, social studies teacher, and advisor to both clubs. In both the clubs, you see that he was a member of the club, and in both the clubs he was the advisor, and he always praises or admires his social teacher. Mr. Weichler was the perfect person for me then. So Ebright wrote later on, Mr. Weichler, my social teacher, was a perfect person for me, and he opened my mind to new ideas. He always helped me to open my mind to new ideas. Richard would always give that extra effort. You see that, who said it? Mr. Weichler. So Weichler, the social teacher, his social teacher, he praises, Ebright also. And he says that he was very much interested and impressed. And he says that Richard was always used to use his extra effort. He would always use his extra effort. What pleased me was this person who put in 3 or 4 hours at night doing debate research, besides doing all his research with butterflies and his other interests. You see that he was doing his research on butterflies, and even then, though he was doing his research on butterflies, so he used to spend 3 to 4 hours every day at night to research on the debates. So that pleased me very much. Actually, I am very much pleased with his extra effort that this person he used to put more effort or much effort of 3 to 4 hours daily. For what purpose? For debate research rather than doing research on monarch butterflies. Richard was a competitive, and again he continues. He was competitive also. He had a competitive mind, but not in a bad sense. But his competitive sense, that was not in a bad sense, that we can see in many people. Okay, but he was not such a person. Richard was not interested in winning for winning's sake or winning to get a prize. That was the case. So Richard was not at all interested in taking part in the competition for getting a prize or for winning purpose. Okay. Rather, he was winning but he was winning why? Because he wanted to do the best job he could. He wanted to do the best that he could do, and that's why he was getting the prizes. Otherwise, he was not trying to get the prize. He was not doing the things to win the prize, but he got the prize or he won the prize. Why? Because he was doing his best in his life. For the right reasons, he wants to be the best. That's the case that this is the case with the Ebright. And that is one of the ingredients. Ingredients means elements in the making of the scientist. So he says that that is the most important element that makes a good scientist, or this is what makes a good scientist. Start with a first-rate mind. Always start with a first-rate mind. That means extremely good mind. Start with extremely good mind. Add curiosity. Start with a good mind and add curiosity to it, and mix in the will, and with that desire, will must be there. We have to mix the will also, and by that you can win, and win for the right reasons. Ebright was these qualities, and Ebright has all these good qualities a scientist must have, like what? Start with an extreme good mind, and add a curiosity as well as mix the will. Will means desire to win for the right reasons, for the good purpose. And Ebright had all these good qualities, and from the time the book, you see that it started. It was a turning point in his life that he got the book, The Travels of Monarch 10, that was given to him or presented to him by his mother, and that opened the world of science to him. Actually, that was the time, the turning point that opened the science of world of science to him. And Richard Ebright has never lost his scientific curiosity afterwards. Okay, he was always scientifically curious. He wanted to learn more and more, know more and more. Dear students, I hope all of you understood it very well. So please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you very much.